When modeling a roadway, your design may require the pavement width to vary. At times like this, you can use a horizontal target. Horizontal targets allow us to define the edge of pavement using geometry rather than a static width. In this lesson, we'll learn how to assign a horizontal target. On my screen is some geometry that represents the beginnings of a road widening project. Let's take a quick tour. I'm going to zoom in. Right here, I have an existing ground surface called EG. Here I have an alignment called Main Street. This is an existing road. If I zoom in, we can see the geometry that was collected by the surveyor for the existing edge of pavement and curb and gutter. Let's center this on screen. We are going to be designing a road widening in this area. For the purposes of this example, let's say that we're going to be allowing some parallel parking on either side of the street. I'm going to pan down here to the beginning. The project is going to start here at station 650. We'll be doing a full road reconstruction. We will be maintaining the current pavement section for about 50 feet till we get to station 7. That's where the widening is going to begin. The widening will then continue and then taper back in. It will end at station 10 plus 00. We will then maintain the current road section for another 50 feet to station 10 plus 50. This is where the project ends, and then we will return to the existing pavement. Let's pan over. Over here I have a profile. Note that I pulled a surface profile for the entire alignment. If we look at the proposed profile, it's obvious that we are not replacing the entire street, just the area between station 6 plus 50 and 10 plus 50. Let me pan this over. Here's the assembly that we'll use. This assembly is called Main Street. I've got a pair of lanes. These are logically named, some curb and gutter, and basic daylighting. Let's zoom out. I'll center on the widening area, and we'll start by creating the initial corridor. I'll do that by coming up to the Create Design panel. I'll click the Corridor button. We'll call this corridor Main Street. I'm going to create the corridor using the Main Street alignment, the Main Street finished grade profile, and the Main Street assembly. Let's target the existing ground surface. And I'm going to leave this box checked. I would like to bring up a dialog box this time. Let's come down and click OK. I'm bringing up the dialog box because I don't want to copy that assembly the entire length of the alignment. Let me push this down. If I select the baseline, we can see that on screen. That is defined by our alignment and profile. Let me choose region. This is the area where the Main Street assembly is going to be copied. I'm going to come down to Start Station and click. I'll change this to 650. The beginning of the project. I will then click in End Station, and I'll set this to 1050. I'll press Enter. I'll push this up and click OK, and then we'll rebuild the corridor. So this corridor represents the area of road reconstruction. Now let's take care of the widening. I have already created the geometry for this. I'm going to open the layer control. Let me push this to the top, and let's thaw this layer called widening. I will then click on screen to close that menu. Let's zoom in. I have created a polyline on the left and right side of the street to represent my area of widening. If we zoom in, we can see how that ties into the existing edge of pavement. That is consistent on both ends. I would like to use these polylines to drive the width of my corridor. To do that, I'll assign them as horizontal targets for the lanes. To assign the targets, I'll select the corridor. I'll choose Corridor Properties. I'll go to the Parameters tab. And up till this point, when we've been setting targets, surface targets anyway, we've been choosing the Set All Targets button. That will work in this case. That's because we're going to be assigning the targets for the entire length of the corridor. Let me show you something else, though. Notice in the region row here, if I go down to the end, I can assign targets on a region-by-region basis. Let's do that. I'm going to click the ellipsis button. When I do, I can see all the subassembly parts in my assembly that support targets. Since they are logically named, it's easy to tell them apart. Note that the left and right lanes support a width target. I'm going to click in the width target field for the left lane, and then I will select the type of target I'm using. We'll open the menu. Note that I can select an alignment, or I can select an object from the drawing, a feature line, survey figure, or polyline. I'm going to use that option. I will then click Select from Drawing. We are looking at the left lane, so I'll select this polyline on the left side. And I'll press Enter. I could select more than one if I wanted to. Note if I wanted to delete a target, I could do that by using this red X. Let's click OK. I will then click in the width field for the right lane. I'll choose Select from Drawing, and I'll select the polyline on the right side and press Enter. I will then come down and click OK. As a side note, we can see those lanes also support an elevational target, so if I wanted to select a profile at this time, I could do that as well. Not going to do it in this case. For right now, I'm just going to come down and click OK. I'll choose OK, and then we'll rebuild the corridor. I'm going to take the panorama and we'll pull this down. I'll hold my Control key so it doesn't dock. Let's push this down here for a second. I'll press Escape and we'll do a quick regen so we can take a look at the corridor. This looks good. We can see the pavement follows the standard section, the widths assigned in the assembly, until such point as we get to the target. Then we can see the pavement come over to match the target on both sides. Then it tapers back in until the target goes away, and then it's maintaining the width again assigned in the assembly. Let me do a quick regen here to deselect. So why do we see the warnings? If we look right here, we can see there's a warning at stations 650 and 675 that it can't find the targets. This isn't a problem. Station 650 is right here and 675 is right here. Civil 3D is just telling us, hey, you've assigned a target to drive this lane width, and we didn't find a target in these stations. It's just making us aware of that fact. Let's push this up. If we look down here, we can see it has the same issue on the other end of the corridor. So, not a problem. Let me go to Action. We'll clear the events, and then I'll click the green check to close the panorama. Just for a second, let's take a look at this corridor in the section editor. I'm going to select the corridor by clicking the assembly here at the beginning, and then I'll click the section editor icon. I will then open the View menu, and I'll click Zoom to an offset and elevation to lock the view. Let's go ahead and step back one station. We can see this is the existing conditions. Let me step forward. Here's where the road reconstruction starts. I'll keep going forward. The road reconstruction goes on for 50 feet until we reach the targets. Now we can see those lanes pulling out. They go out to the maximum width. Let's keep going till we get to the end of the widening. Now the target's pulling those back into the existing conditions. Our road reconstruction now goes another 50 feet using the standard section. And if we continue on, we're back to the existing conditions. When I'm finished reviewing the corridor, I'll click the X to close the section editor. As you can see, Civil 3D makes it easy to drive the shape of your corridor using horizontal targets. The biggest trick to targeting is to ensure the subassembly parts you choose support the targeting you need. Just as a quick example, I'm going to press Ctrl+3 to bring back the tool palette. The lanes I used in this project, right here, Lane Super Elevation AOR, I'm going to right-click and choose Help. And if I drag this down to the targeting area, we can see right here this lane targets both a width and an elevation. If you do that with a little practice, soon you'll be able to model virtually any roadway design.